Okay, now that you have all of the tenses, active and passive, we're going to put it all together in a full conjugation. Let's choose a verb. We will choose, how about moneo? Moneo, monere, monui, monetum. And we'll do the present system first. And the present system means anything that is built off of the present stem, which is the second principal part minus the RE. So the present system includes the present, the imperfect, and the future. And we're going to do active and passive. So in the present, you know moneo, mones, monet, monemus, monetis, monent. I warn, you warn, he warns, we warn, you warn, they warn. Let's do the imperfect. Monebam, monebas, monebat, monebamus, monebatis, monebant. I used to warn, you used to warn, etc. You get the idea. The future. I already wrote future. Monebo, monebis, monebit, monebimus, monebitis, monebunt. This is your present active system. That means, again, these are your tenses that are built off of the present stem. The past tense, the passive, let's go with the passive. The present passive. Moneor, moneris, monetur, monemur, monemini, monentor. So again, this is just your active and passive. This is the exact same thing, but the passive is using the passive endings, the active uses the active endings. Not complicated, a lot to digest, but that's why I'm laying it out in this format. The imperfect. Monebar, monebaris, monebatur, monebamur, monebamini, monebantur. And the future. Monebor, mone, you want it to be beris, but it's going to be aris with the E sound, with the letter E. Monebitur, monebimur, monebimini, monebuntur. So over on this side we have our active endings: st, mus, tisnt, mst, mustisnt, or mst, mustisnt. Active endings on the active side, the stem is exactly the same, and we have over here in the passive, ris, tor, mur, mini, entor. Ris, tor, mur, mini, entor, and ris, tor, mur, mini, entor. And we do have that exception here with this right here is an exception. You want it to be B, BI, or BU, but that B-ris sound the Romans weren't happy with, and so they changed that. This is the present active system. Let's go with the perfect system. These are verbs, tenses that are built off the perfect stem, either in the third or the fourth principal part. I'll write this out again. Moneo, monere, monui, monetum. Let me make very clear, there is a division here. This is the present system. This is the perfect system. In other words, the first two principal parts are going to be the present tense, the imperfect tense, or the future tense. The third principal part is reserved for the present. Well, first of all, in the perfect system, the third principal part is for active, and the fourth principal part is for passive. And the active, the present perfect, the pluperfect, or the future perfect. The passive, also the same tenses: present perfect, pluperfect, future perfect. So I want to make clear, unlike the active and passive that you learned for the present, imperfect, and future, where all you do is change the ending, in the past tense, I have warned, I have been warned, we're going to use the different principal parts. Moreover, there's no passive endings when it comes to the perfect system. The perfect system, it's dependent upon this part of speech, the principal part that you use. For example, let's look at this one. Traho. Trahere. I don't think you've had this word. Troxy. Troctum. Notice, if I were to write T-R-A-X-I-S-T-I, you may not know what it means, but by golly, you know that T-R-A-X, that comes from the third principal part, so it's a perfect active word, tense. Doesn't matter what the ending is necessarily, because you know no matter what, the third principal part in Latin is reserved for the perfect active voice. And by the same token, troctum est, you know the fourth principal part is reserved for the perfect passive voice. So, and that's fairly consistent. Let's get back to conjugating in the perfect system. I'll rewrite it here: moneo, monere, and I know this is gripping video. Monui, monotum. The present perfect, we're going to start with the active, the present perfect. In other words, in this column, no matter what I get to in this column right here, it's all going to be the third principal part. So the present perfect: monui, monuisti, monuit, monuit, monuimus, monuistis, monuerunt. That's your present perfect. Let's talk about the pluperfect. We're still using the stem from the third principal part. Monueram, monueras, monuerat, monueramus, monueratus, monuerant. And the future perfect. You know what I'm going to say? We are still using the third principal part because everything in this column uses the third principal part. Monuero, monueris, monuerit, monuerimus, monueritis, monuerint. This is the one time they use that int sound, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to distinguish from the present perfect. So they do accept it, but they use it so rarely. Let's talk about the passive voice. And the passive voice, we're going to use the fourth principal part plus the form of the verb to be. The present, monit, we'll make it masculine. Just, well, it doesn't have to be. Monitus sum, monitus es, monitus est, moniti. Notice you got to change that. Moniti sumus, moniti sumus, estis, moniti sunt. Monetus sum, monetus est, monetus est, moneti sumus, moneti estis, moneti sunt. And again, we are using for the future, the pluperfect, the fourth principal part, monetus. Let me start that again. Monetus, but not the present form of the verb to be, but the past. Monetus eram, and they are two different words. Monetus eras, monetus erat, moneti eramus, moneti eratis, moneti, I say I garbled that, but you see what I'm saying, erant. They had been warned. And the future, we are still sticking with the fourth principal part. This is not going to change all throughout Latin. This is incredibly, incredibly consistent. Monetus ero, monetus eris, monetus erit, moneti erimis, moneti eritis, and then monuti, they are going to go back to erunt, which they're much more comfortable with because it's not going to be confused with anything else. But notice in the passive voice, we have the fourth principal part here. Undo that. The fourth principal part plus the form of the verb to be, and for the perfect active, we use the third principal part. And notice how the third principal part is the stem for all of these. Monu, 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 monu. I just wanted to say that. So we are incredibly, incredibly consistent in Latin. Now, you need to be able to do a full conjugation, and from that, we will be able to construct a synopsis. Let's pick a word. Let's use amo, because it's short and it can fit in here. And we're going to fully conjugate. We're going to do exactly what I just did. Don't get me wrong. I think it's good for you. I think you need to be able to do it. And I think you should do this with as many words as you can stand. But let's do amo in the present active. Amo, amas, amat, amamus, amatis, amant. That's your present active. And let's go over here and do the present passive. Amor, amaris, amator, amamur, ama, mini, amantor. Notice in the present system, the active and passive, we're just changing the endings, but we're still off of that same stem, ama. The imperfect, amabam, amabas, amabat, amabamus, amabatis, amabant. And in the passive, it's the exact same thing. Amabar, amabaris, amabatur, amabamor, amabamini, amabantur. I'm hoping you're working this along with me. I know this is not the most exciting video, but oh my gosh, if you can master this, you've got it made. So let's keep going. That's the imperfect. Notice again, the imperfect and the active and the passive, only in the present system, just change the endings. Future, amabo, amabis, amabit, amabimus, amabitis, amabunt. And the passive, right, it's all going to be exactly the same. We're just going to change the endings. Amabor, amaberes, that's that one little exception here. Amabitor, amabimor, bimini, excuse me. Buntur. I'll repeat it because it's so important. Notice that it's just on the left-hand side, the active side, we just have the active endings, and on the passive side, we have the passive endings. Let's look at the perfect system. I have loved. We, wisti, because now we're changing to the third principal part. Wit, excuse me. Wimis, wittis, weyrunt. That's your active. Fourth principal part is used in the passive, so we're going to go with amatus sum, amatus es, amatus est, amati sumus, amati estis, amati sunt. Just the present form of the verbs to be, but notice left-hand side, the active side, third principal part in the perfect system. The right-hand side is the fourth principal part plus the form of the verb to be. Let's do the pluperfect. Amaweram, amaweras, amawerat, amaweramus, amaweratis, amawerant. Perfect active, third principal part, plus the form of the verb, the eram, eras, erat. And in the past tense, the passive voice, amatus eram, I had been loved. Amatus eras, you had been loved. Amatus erat, he had been loved. Amati sumus, eramus, excuse me, eramus. I got caught looking ahead. Perfect scribal error. Scribes made that mistake many times in the Middle Ages. Looking up ahead and copied down the wrong word. Amati eratis and amati erant. Future perfect. Amawero, amaweris, amawerit, amaweramus, amaweritis, amawerunt. Notice, one of the most important things is this fits. It's as if I planned this. It's as if I made sure it fit in that screen. Future passive, amatus ero, I will have been loved. Amatus eris, you will have been loved. Amatus erit. Amati, notice I changed the ending. Erimis. Amati eritis. Amati erunt. Wow. You should feel a sense of accomplishment because you can do all of this now. Let me draw some lines here and make this clear. We have these quadrants here, and I'll write these out. This is the present, imperfect, future. This is your present perfect, your pluperfect, and your future perfect. Active, passive, active, passive. This is a full conjugation. A synopsis. What if I were to say, give me a synopsis of amo in the third singular? What that means is you would grab the third singular form of every one of these. And you would write down amat, amabat, amabit, amawit, amawerat, amawerit, amatur, amabator, amabitor, amatus est, amatus erat, amatus erit. Third singular. Let's say I wanted a synopsis of amo in the second person plural. Well, then you just go amatis, amabatis, amabitis, amawitis, istis. Oh goodness, I didn't catch that to begin with. I'm sorry. Amawistis. Excuse me. All of these are in your book, so if I've botched it here, let me know. Go back to your book, trust your book. But amaweratis, amaweritis, amamini, amabamini, amabimini, amati estis, amati eratis, amati eritis. This is a synopsis. You select one from each category. This you need to be able to do on an exam. There will be probably 2 of these on an exam very, very soon. Let me make one more point. I drew that quadrant there before. The first quadrant, this is the present system. Everything above this line is the present system, which means it is built off of the present stem. And the difference is active over here in this quadrant are active endings, and over here are passive endings. But below this is your perfect system. And always and forever, the perfect active is in this quadrant, the 1, 2, 3, third quadrant, if you want. Third principal part, fourth quadrant, fourth principal part. Everything in the perfect system active gets built off of the third principal part. Everything in the perfect system passive gets built off of the fourth principal part. This is good for you. It's a lot to take in, but it's a lot of knowledge that you now have. So, conjugate fully as many verbs as you possibly can, and let me know if you have questions. So when you sit down and you say, oh, I don't have any Latin tonight. Yes, you do. Conjugate. Pick a verb at random. Conjugate it fully. Conjugate it fully. Or if you don't have time to conjugate it fully, do a synopsis. Say, oh, you know what? I'm sitting here waiting in line. I'm going to do a synopsis in the second person singular of a verb. It's great for you. Again, have a great evening. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks.